We manage, and these are year-ending figures, over 22 trillion rupees or 22 lakh crore rupees worth of assets out of a 32 lakh crore Indian mutual fund industry. So that gives us the pole position and about a 69% plus market share. We service all the large AMCs, and if I give you a count, that's 5 of the top 5 asset managers in India are serviced by us, 7 of the top 10 and 10 of the top 15. The latest client addition to this service suite has happened in the month of July, in this very month when we are speaking to you. And Franklin Templeton, which was working in a owned format under their own management, has chosen to join hands with CAMS and join our platform. And they are the latest addition to the CAMS family of mutual fund clients. In terms of the mutual fund business, and again, I do not have the opportunity to take you into every detail, so I'll keep this more at a summary level, but I will certainly take you into some detail if you see our business and what do we do. And this is shown as a pyramid on the charts, and I'll begin at the bottom. Transfer agency services, as you're aware, are a blend of several components, more than a dozen key components. But transaction origination, as you can see, overall operations, investor services, risk management, and compliance delivery are the large blocks. For distributors, we manage overall processes of empaneling distributors onto a platform, recording and keeping lifelong records of their commissions and brokerage, computation of brokerage, which is a complex process, and then we manage distributor satisfaction, distributor queries, complaints, the entire gamut for all our AMCs, for the distributors who work with. The area of customer care and investor services, and this is a very core area as the investor and folio count now expands across the marketplace. We provide call center services, mailing, mailback, and SMS services, service request execution, account statements, including account information, capital gains, taxation, all of that kind of work. Front office services for investors who choose to walk in, and then overall transaction processing across the breadth of all kinds of financial and non-financial and tax-related transactions for mutual fund investors. We work as a knowledge partner for the mutual fund industry. We collect business insights and produce insights for the AMCs on investor behavior. We then build a lot of high capability process expertise, and this is used more for designing newer products by the asset managers, but also for making sure that processing for investors is quick, error-free, and first-time right, and leads to high satisfaction levels. As a business enabler, we help the asset management industry with data and with transactions, with overall infrastructure, and then a very strong operational spine and backbone, which makes all of this possible, including supporting new fund offerings. We also work as a service aggregator. We compile best practices. We monitor things like social media noise and chatter in order to understand the sentiment in the overall marketplaces. And then we ensure very high degrees of cybersecurity and business continuity so that investor servicing is completely undisrupted, downtimes are minimized, and therefore investors feeling that they have instant servicing capability available for them, that continues to grow and augment in this fast expanding marketplace. How do we do this? I showed you a stack of activities, but it is also important to know how this happens. This is delivered off a very large suite of what we call platform capability. All of this platform capability is built by the company, embellished and augmented by it, maintained and hosted by it. So all of this is the company's product line. From a transaction origination perspective, I will just talk of 2 or 3 key things. CAMS, which some of you may have either used or may have heard of, is one of the largest apps and websites for individual investors for monitoring their portfolios and transaction origination and management for individuals. GoCorp is a large institutional portal used by over 6,000 Indian corporates, trusts, and those kind of entities. H360 is a portal and app meant for distributors. And these are the 3 large portals and websites for transaction origination. We work to enforce PMLA regulations and AML practices through ESTR. And when you see on the right-hand side, we manage MFDEX, which is the Mutual Fund Data Explorer. This is a large BI tool, which is basically a data warehouse for across the industry, both CAMS service funds and non-CAMS service funds. We produce a series of management dashboards. We focus on productivity and efficiency of the AMC sales force, both through CAMS Smart, which is a product to give them instant information, and then through MFCRM Plus, which is a sales CRM meant for AMC sales leadership to manage and monitor their sales force. MF360 is a large CRM platform for the industry, which is used across the industry. CAMServe is a chatbot which is hosted by us, is available on several AMC platforms. And then all of this is augmented by a wide variety of APIs, several hundreds of them, and a wide variety of web services, all of which power the breadth of this mutual fund industry where delivery happens across a variety of formats, partners, platforms, as you're aware. We also engage with new and leading and emerging technologies of all kinds. Most of you have heard of the Aadhaar stack in India and the Jan Dhan Trinity. But just to call out a few key ones amongst these, we offer, like I spoke, online Aadhaar KYC, which is a very easy means deployed by the industry to onboard new to mutual fund investors. A variety of digital payment modes are available for mutual fund payments to be made. A wide stack of APIs, e-signs and digital signs for people to authenticate their presence even in industries or sectors of the components of the market like AIF and PMS, which are still paper heavy. All of this is now becoming prominent, and we are leaders in introducing these things. Online third-party verification, which is now becoming a regulatory requirement for payments that come in. Real-time dashboards. IMPS-led bank account validation so that we don't go wrong in paying monies into wrong bank accounts. Algorithm-based name matching so that even if names are spelled differently in various instances of a long life of an investor, we are able to optimize risk and investor service at the right levels. And then a variety of BI and analytics platforms, services, and capabilities, including using Google Query and Google Cloud. I'll speak a little about our digital properties. These components, all of them are an aggregation of what the asset management companies have put out for themselves in terms of websites and apps, and the aggregation of what we have put out as websites and apps. And I spoke to you about the 3 main ones, GoCorp, PyCAMS, and Edge. There is some more data here in terms of giving it more color. GoCorp has now over 6,000 registered users, most of them corporates and trusts, and carries a traffic of over 20% in terms of overnight and liquid funds for CAMS service funds. At about 3.5 to 4 lakh a month, CAMS has a large user base and a large transaction base, over 4 million registered users, making it one of the largest instances of mobile app for individual consumers. I spoke about H360 to you, which has in a marketplace, which has just over 100,000 registered sellers. Almost 1/3 of them are registered on this portal. And then CAMServe, which services the industry through an interactive, intuitive, flow-based chatbot format. In terms of just showing you the scale of operations, and you can see some key data here. And I'd spoken to you earlier that our transactions touched all-time highs during the year. Annual transaction volumes at about 323 million, that's over 32 crore. And overall SIP book, as you know, this is the number of live registered SIPs, over 21 million, almost 237 million SIP transactions, a live investor folio count of over 4 crore now, and then almost 166 lakh or 16.6 million of unique investors serviced in a fast expanding, fast penetrating marketplace of mutual funds. I'd spoken a little to you about investor satisfaction, which is driving investor satisfaction as a part of our core philosophy. And as I'd said, we conduct this investor survey every year now for the third year in running in February and March. And you can see that over 61% of very satisfied consumers, almost 33% of satisfied consumers as a collectivity, 95% satisfied and very satisfied consumers. This gives CAMS almost unprecedented score in consumer satisfaction. And when you extrapolate this over a large base, over 20,000 respondents, account which has been growing for the last 3 years, I think strong vindication of the capability that the company has built and the service offering and the robustness of delivery. In terms of beyond mutual funds, what else do we do beyond mutual funds? Of course, you know that we offer software solutions largely to the asset managers, both mutual funds and AIF, through Sterling Software, our software company, which is a 100% subsidiary. We are one of the KRAs in India, where we do KYC registration work and storage of those records. We do insurance servicing, both on the repository side and in general back office work and customer service work for insurance companies. We do customer onboarding and investor servicing for AIF and PMS companies. CAMS Pay, which started as a single offering for NACH, has now diversified into other payment formats, including UPI, and services sectors beyond the AMCs, which covers both insurance companies and NBFCs. I spoke about Recon Dynamics, which emerged out of an adjacent capability that we had within the mutual fund business, which is now being offered to the online and insurance sector. We've recently, last year, been licensed as account aggregators under the RBI licensing. And then earlier in the calendar year, in March, we became licensed as the third central record keeping agency for the National Pension Scheme, and this business is under design and will be launched in early 2022. In terms of awards and public recognition, we were recognized as a fintech star by the government of Tamil Nadu earlier in the year. CAMS Pay also won the prestigious Finovity 2021 award for innovation in the payments markets. So 2 strong vindications of our reputation in the marketplace in the last year. And then I will talk a little about our financial performance in terms of how the year has been. And most of you have seen this data. Overall revenue from operations was at 7055 million or 705 crore. Our PBT was 2745 million rupees, up 11% year on year. Our profit after tax was about 205 crore, 2053 million. As I said, 19% up. Our operating EBITDA was strong and consistent despite the backdrop of the year, which had seen a very slow and slightly withdrawn in terms of consumer interest quarter at 38.7%, and the return on net worth at 39.8%. So despite the fact that the year began in a slightly wavering fashion, with the first quarter deeply impacted by the pandemic, I'm happy to report to you that all financial metrics and most operating metrics continue to go up and posted a strong trend year on year at the end of the year. And then lastly, in terms of shareholder value creation, while all of you are aware, you've seen the dividend history. We've consistently tried to align ourselves to the dividend policy declared by the board. And then overall, in terms of shareholder value, you know that we got listed less than a year back. Our market cap at that time at a listing price or closing first day, second day price was in the range of 1,500 rupees, so at about 7,400 crore. And that number has, across the year, not in a pocket, not in a short period, but almost consistently scaled to almost double that number. It was a gratifying outcome for all of us, for you as shareholders, and for me as the CEO and part of the management team of the company. In terms of overall outlook, and I will close after this, we continue to be guided by our core philosophy of being a B2B infrastructure and platform company in the financial services sector, guided by our motto, which is our mission, your growth. Overall, if I took the core franchise of the Indian mutual fund sector, you know that as disposable incomes grow, there is much better investor education, investment and outcomes, better awareness of the product class in capital markets, a growing investor base, and then a much better ease of investment through digitization. All of this continues to point to sustained possibilities of the market, the mutual fund market, continuing to grow in the manner it has grown in the last many years. We are well positioned to capitalize on this growth, given our differentiated set of services in the marketplace and strong relationship with marquee clients. And like I had said, a continued expansion and identification of newer markets in the arena of payment solutions, account aggregator, in pension through the CRA initiative are reasons for us to believe that the outlook for the company continues to remain strong and sustained for the years to come. I will stop here, dear shareholders, with my presentation, and I will hand the proceedings back to the chairman, Mr. D.K. Mehrotra, to carry on the rest of the proceedings of the meeting.
Question and answer session.
We also have to now go into the question and answer session.
Yeah.
And we will have the moderator begin the session now for shareholders to put up their questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our first speaker for the event is Madam Lekha Shah.
Hello. Hello.
Madam, kindly ask your question.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chairman, sir, Board of Directors, and my fellow members, good evening to all of you. Myself, Lekha Shah from Mumbai. First of all, I'm very much thankful to our Company Secretary, Mr. Manikandan Ji, for sending very good investor services and also sending me the annual report by email well in time in such a difficult situation. So I am very grateful to our Company Secretary, Mr. Manikandan Ji. Since Registrar link time send us direct link to the meeting on time, we do not face any challenge to join the meeting. Thank you, LinkedIn, especially again Premila ma'am, Nikharji and Prashant Bhai. Sir, I would like to congratulate our company on winning various awards this year. And also, the company is doing very well in the field of CSR activities. Sir, I am happy to see all the good deeds you have done during this difficult time. I pray to God that He always shower His blessing upon you. Sir, I would like to ask few questions. My first question is, how is the company preparing himself in a post-COVID world. My second question is, what are the learning from the lockdown and how is the company implementing those learning? And my third question is, how is our company operating? Our employees are working from home or are they working from office? My fourth question is, are all our company employees vaccinated against COVID-19? My fourth question is, how many of our employees were affected by COVID-19? So, I strongly support all the resolutions for today's meeting and my best wishes, always our company and its prosperity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Sri Santosh Kumar Saraf. Sir, kindly speak.
हेलो, मेरी आवाज आ
Sir,
रही है
please.
सर?
Yes, sir.
हाँ जी। आदरणीय सभापति जी, उपस्थित नियुक्त सदस्यगण और मेरे शेयरहोल्डर भाइयों बहनों, जो आज हम वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस के थ्रू प्रेजेंट है, मैं संतोष कुमार सराफ कलकत्ता से बोल रहा हूँ। आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार सर। आशा करता हूँ आप जितने डायरेक्टर हैं, जितने भी एम्प्लॉई हैं और जितने भी हमारे स्टेक होल्डर हैं, वह और उनकी फैमिली इस कोविड के समय में स्वस्थ और अच्छे से होंगी सर। ये हमारी पहली मीटिंग है सर, इसलिए मैं ज्यादा प्रश्न नहीं करूंगा, सिर्फ भगवान से प्रार्थना करूंगा कैम्स जिस तरह आज बहुत पुराना और काफी म्यूचुअल फंड का काम कर रहा है, उसी तरह आगे बढ़ते रहे। और सर मेरे को 2-3 चीज बताइएगा कि अपने कितने कर्मचारी वर्क फ्रॉम होम कर रहे हैं, ये बताइएगा सर। और अपने कितने परसेंटेज कर्मचारी को वैक्सीन लग चुकी है और उनकी फैमिली को जो वैक्सीन लगी है सर, उनके भी रीसम अपने किए तो बताइएगा सर। एक इस कोविड के टाइम के अंदर में अपने कॉस्ट कटिंग के बारे में क्या स्टेप उठाए हैं जिससे अपनी इनकम और ग्रोथ पे इफेक्ट नहीं हो, और सर ये मिनिमम इफेक्ट इसके बारे में सर। एक सर ये जो अपने रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के बारे में अपने जहाँ ऑफिसेज हैं वहाँ ये रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के बारे में क्या कदम उठाए हैं ये भी बताने का कष्ट करिएगा सर। एक सर आप जो अपने ये मैनेजमेंट के हिसाब से सेक्रेटरी है, मैं इनको भी धन्यवाद देता हूँ, इन्होंने भी काफी अच्छा काम किया है और बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है सर। एक सर मैं लास्ट में ये कहता हूँ कि जिन कर्मचारियों ने इस कोविड में अपनी जान गंवाई है या कोई इनके जान लक्ष्य जो गए हैं, उनके लिए मैं भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूँ हाथ जोड़ के, भगवान उनकी आत्मा को शांति दे और उनके परिवार को इस कोविड टाइम में हिम्मत दे और सर एक आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है सर कि आप लोग तो रजिस्ट्रार है, आपका पेपर वेस्टेज बहुत होता है सर, तो इसके लिए आप क्या कदम उठा रहे हैं ये बताइएगा सर, क्योंकि पेपर वेस्टेज लोग आप ऑनलाइन करिए सर। एक मेरी रिक्वेस्ट रहेगी सर, मैं आपके कैंप से कनेक्टेड हूँ बोल के एक ही आ गया सर, जो हमारे हम एजेंट लोग को एक बड़ी तकलीफ होती है कि जो अभी केवाईसी जिनकी नहीं हुई है उनकी रिपोर्ट डाउन करने के लिए WR56 जो लोग कहते हैं वो डाउन नहीं होती है सर। इससे बेटर होगा सर वो खुद ही अगर जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट उनको भेज दे कि ये इनकी केवाईसी कंप्लीट नहीं हुई है, इनकी केवाईसी आप कंप्लीट कराओ, उनकी लिस्ट भेज देंगे तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा सर। ये मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है सर। और मैं ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूँ आप सभी का स्वास्थ्य अच्छा हो और भगवान आप सभी को लंबी उम्र दे, आपके परिवार को अच्छी उम्र दे। लास्ट में सर यही कहते हुए कि जितने हमारे डायरेक्टर हैं, जितने भी हमारे स्टेक होल्डर हैं, जितने भी हमारे कर्मचारी हैं और जितने भी एम्प्लॉई हैं और मतलब सब अच्छे से रहे, उनकी फैमिली को 2021 हेल्दी हैप्पी और वेलनेस के साथ है और कोविड खत्म होने के बाद में जब हम दोबारा वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस में मिले हंसी खुशी मिले सर। एक लास्ट रिक्वेस्ट आपसे ये रहेगी सर, आप लोग सेबी को और कॉर्पोरेट अफेयर को बोलिए सर कंपनी को ये वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस मीटिंग कंटिन्यू रखे, यदि कि आपकी बॉम्बे में मीटिंग होगी तो तो मैं कलकत्ता, चेन्नई में, बॉम्बे मीटिंग में कलकत्ता से जाके अटेंड नहीं कर सकता सर। तो अभी आप जब रजिस्टर्ड हो गए तो आप पूरे इंडिया में शेयर होल्डर हो गए सर, इसलिए चाहेंगे सबकी बात हम सुने। तो इसलिए मैं कहूँगी आप उनको रिकमेंडेड कीजिए कि ये जो हाइब्रिड जो वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंस मीटिंग है इसको कंटिन्यू रखिए। धन्यवाद समय देने के लिए, आप लोग की लंबी उम्र की कामना करता हूँ, अपना वक्तव्य समाप्त करता हूँ। धन्यवाद सर।
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Siddharth Gupta.
Greetings of the day, sir. I hope I am audible and visible to all of you. My name is Mr. Dharav Jamadar. I am a PhD research scholar from Surat. I firstly would like to applaud and congratulate every stakeholder of my company on posting such a marvelous and incredible numbers in such uncertain time. Sir, I would like to ask some questions to all the board members. My first question is regarding ESG. What has my company done, particularly in the area of ESG? Because if we see, ESG is now becoming not only a requirement, but it is also something on which my company will get its future valuation. Second, I would also like to applaud my company's IT advancement, which it has done last year. My company has used in my company's annual report. It has clearly written that we have utilized BI, AI, machine learning, etc. So I would like to see my company how it moves in the future, also utilizing these techniques. Third question, major issues which my company has faced last year and how it has resolved that particular issues apart from slowdown of COVID-19. Fourth question, it is really fantastic to see the economic moat which my company has created by having almost 70% market share. But also there are certain companies whose products might be hampering our products growth. So I would like to know which are such products which are companies facing competition from such competitors. Fifth, seeing at the financialization happening right now in India, how do you think will be the financial landscape 10 years down the line? And how will our company be placed particularly 10 years down the line? Sixth, is my company thinking of having any global expansion or diversification in this year? Seven, is my company thinking of introducing new products or services which will help us in building the more stronger economic moat and help us expand our market share as well as margins? I would also like to place a request over here that I would really be glad to have I would like to myself get associate with this company in research or finance department if the opportunity is given to me. Wishing for your blessings and a positive response. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Sri Siddharth Gupta.
Good afternoon to the board, to the management, and to all my fellow shareholders. I'm Siddharth Gupta. I'm an individual shareholder, and I'm also the managing partner of Voyager Capital, a small fund based out of Mumbai. Before I ask a few questions, I have a few comments to make. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the company for its fantastic performance over the year and over the past few years. Given that a lot of our details just came out through the IPO, we had a great opportunity to study this brilliant company, and I must applaud all the dedication and effort that has been put in. My first suggestion of two is that I noticed that we had two con calls after we went public. The first one of which was on Zoom, where we could see and interact with the management, where the other one was on as an audio call. Personally, I would like to suggest that we continue doing more video conference calls every quarter, as it allows for better interaction between stakeholders. And secondly, I would like to suggest that there would be slightly more outreach in terms of how an investor or a fund could approach the company. Because right now we have an email ID to approach for complaints, but not for general outlooks where we could study and ask the company questions about its growing businesses. And now I would like to come to my questions. Firstly, it's directed towards the board and the management. On page 103 of the annual report, you speak about revenue concentration risks. In that context, and you also mentioned that the mutual fund business shall continue to be your dominant business in the medium term. This, I believe, is something we've spoken of on the last conference call as well. But I would like to know that To what extent is the revenue mix right now? I believe it's 85 or 90% of the revenue mix, but where does the company want to see this in the future, in the next, let's say, 5 years or in the next 10 years? What is an envisaged target that the company is setting for itself for this revenue mix? And secondly, I know we are entering a lot of new exciting businesses, which I am personally supremely excited about, particularly CAMS Pay and working as the pensions data aggregator. But what are the margins that we would be looking at in these new businesses that are coming out? Would they be as good as the ones which you're getting in the mutual fund industry? Would they be strong enough to sustain a mixed revenue model? Because I would personally not like to see this company go down the ITC route, wherein it predominantly always has remained a cigarette company and still is reliant on the cigarette company. I would want us to become a much better company in terms of our product mix. The next question is with regard to unlocking of shareholder value. Although the company has performed brilliantly, so has the holding pattern. So does the board have any future plans of a split or a bonus or a buyback, or to make the share more accessible? Because the company is very highly valued, as it's valued as a tech company right now by the markets. And I know it's not the prerogative of the business owners or the board to be looking at only the shareholder value, but I believe that is something the board should take into account. And lastly, has the Robinhood phenomena affected our revenue models at all? Because over the pandemic, we've seen, in a very empirical way, we've seen a lot of people shift from mutual funds to managing their own portfolio, given that they have a lot more time. They have a lot more time to, there are a lot of tips flying around. The market is red hot. So in that sense, has there been any shrinkage in terms of the equity mutual fund AUM, and has that affected our business? And if yes, do we envisage, what are the risk models that we have envisaged for the future to protect against this? Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from the board and the management about this, and enthusiastically rooting as a shareholder for the future of this company. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Sri Vinod Agarwal ji. Mr. Vinod? There seems to be some technical issue at Sri Vinod Agarwal. So we move on to the next speaker, C. Elizabeth Mascarenhas.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Kindly enable your camera.
I don't know, if I go to do all that handling, I think I will lose the audio also, Anyway, you can hear me, no? That's good.
Yes, please ask your question.
Yeah. Respected Chairman, Mr. Mehrota, CEO Anuj Kumar, other honorable directors on the board, and my dear shareholders, my name is Mrs. C. Mascarenhas. I am attending from Mumbai. First of all, I thank the company secretary and his team for sending me an e-annual report. But sir, I would have preferred to get a physical copy, as I find reading from the online watering my eyes. I also thank the Link in Time for giving me this platform to speak. The annual report is good, exhaustive, self-explanatory. What is important, a dividend of 51.10 is good, that is 511%. EPS 42 against last 35. Good financial highlights are given in the report. This being the first IPO, this is the first meeting after the IPO came at rupees 1518 per share, subscribed 47 times and listed on October 1st, 20. we service AUM of 22 trillion. Our market share is 69% of the Indian mutual fund capital. It is a really commendable one. Next is, I congratulate for all the awards as given in the annual report. Also, I appreciate very good CSR work to the community, school, mentally ill students, supplying food, migrant workers, whatnot. Very good. Keep it up. Now, my query, sir, we have 5,500 plus staff. How many were affected by the COVID? How many got well? Any fatalities? Average age of the staff? What is the attrition level? Number two, our company currently serves over 98 fund houses across 280 plus schemes. I am very happy that you recently added one more prestigious company, Franklin Templeton, has joined our platform. So how many are still negotiations are going on for joining on our platform? So we have call centers. How many call centers are there? And in this business, how much revenue and margin we enjoy? Now this Franklin Templeton businesses, how much revenue and margin we will enjoy? So then what is the percentage of the business of CAMS Insurance Repository open e-insurance account in life insurance segment and now expanding to the general insurance segment? Next is, we are registrars and transfer agents for mutual funds. What is our market share and who is our nearest competitor? For inorganic growth, any acquisitions are planned? Next is, we have 272 service centers pan India. Any more centers are planned? Our CAMS is in CAMS Pay Electronic. How much margin we get in this payment portal? Mutual fund. So we loan against mutual fund. The loan book against what? How much is the loan book against mutual fund, and what is the rate of interest we give loan? So are we in Digi Gold, gold ETFs, and gold bonds? What about cryptocurrencies? Will we be registrars for cryptocurrencies? Something is now recently talked by RBI. So I would like to know, what is the holding of Warpeck Pinchers? Who is the person who is having highest holding in CAMS? Rest, I am very happy. I congratulate you for coming with this IPO and making us also a shareholder. And those who participated, this being the first AGM, you should celebrate with some token. That is what I feel. If it was an actual physical meeting, there would be a big celebration. Anyway, I support all the resolutions. I wish our company all the best. May it become very strong, and may our market capitalization double next year, and we will be one of the most prestigious in the registry of the mutual funds, and of course some other business will be added to it. With this, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thanks once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Sri Ravi Kumar Naredi. Mr. Naredi?
Hello, are you able to listen me?
Yes, Kindly enable your camera.
Thank you. Respected Chairman Dinesh ji, CEO Sri Anuj ji, you are doing all things wonderful. I wish all the best to all directors, employees of company and shareholders. Sir, if you give speaker their number, it will be very useful for them to speak. In past, some AGM I attended, I see few chairman and MD give replies to respective shareholder after finishing his/her speech. It looks more good and scientific. A shareholder receive instant reply. When you give all replies as a summarize, it mixes with other shareholders' reply. So this is my request. If possible, please adopt this system in next AGM. My very small question. Now you tell from where growth will come to company, and second, any plan to write off goodwill over the period in future, which is standing 133 crore. Thanking you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our last speaker is Sri Vinod Kumar Agarwal. Mr. Vinod.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sir, I'm Vinod Agarwal speaking from Mumbai. Dinesh ji, we met yesterday in the AGM of UTI virtually. I was there, you were there. I spoke out there also. That also was the first meeting after the IPO, and today is the first meeting after the IPO. Sir, I'm very pleased with the company's performance this year and in the past also. The share IPO was given at 1240, and it is now more than 3,200 plus today. It was very good. So given 2,000 per share return to us this thing. And also noted about the TN Government Star Award that you have received and the Finovity 2021 award you have received. And the only thing which I have got in mind is that you got some cash and bank balances, reserves of 124 crores and 135 crores. One is in the mutual fund, about 130 are invested in the current and we are a debt-free company. So now what will these cash reserves be doing? Are you likely to buy out certain other RTAs or something, or are you likely to become RTAs in the main companies also? Like what linking, today we have tied up with Link in Time. Are we likely to set up something of that kind? Because at the moment we are doing only mutual fund. We've got a platform mostly for mutual fund. We can even become competitors to Link in Time, from whom we are taking services today in the future with the cash and all and our goodwill which you've got. This is my suggestion to you, sir. And the EPS of 42 and the dividends which you have given out are very good, sir. I wish the company all the best in the years to come, and keep on rewarding us as you have done in this thing and our company. And I would, sir, I will suggest, do not dilute your share. Make it run like MRF or Warren Buffett ka Hathaway, so that the fewer shareholders who come in, let it be priced acquisition that we have got. Let them come at a higher price, not at a lower price. Like if you dilute your stake, then a lot of people come in. Let it remain with the high. Warren Buffett never gives dilute his stake. Let you also become on those lines, sir. Thank you very much. Signing off, Vinod Agarwal.
Thank you, sir. Now that's all from Speaker Shareholders Gallery. We are going to take a short break to prepare the responses of the question. Kindly be on standby to resume for the meeting.
start, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So we'll begin with the answers to questions posed by the investors in the same order that the questions came in. The first lot, I am starting with questions asked by Ms. Lekha Shah. And these questions will be answered between our CFO, Somasundaram, and myself. I will keep handing to Somasundaram as and when I want to bring him in for a specific answer. The question was, how is the company preparing itself in the COVID world? In the COVID world, I would say there have been several learnings for us, but the first one, of course, was creating a large work from home spine for the company, making sure that we were able to connect all employees seamlessly, and making sure that we were able to manage for their health, well-being, testing, medication, hospitalization, etc., as needed over a period of time. And very happy to share with you that all of that has gone well. The second large thing was, how do we manage our clients, investors, brokers, and other parts of the overall franchise? Where, while I could highlight a number of things, I think the most salient part is building more and more digital capabilities and creating deeper and deeper formats of educating investors and distributors to join those digital capabilities. That is what I would say is the most salient thing in the post-COVID world. So we've been able to do very well across both these fronts, both in terms of employee well-being, enabling our employees to work from home, and making sure that overall discipline for the employees who are in office in terms of social distancing, sanitization, mask up, vaccination, etc., are implemented well. And the second part was on digitization and making sure that our investors and distributors are more and more immersed in taking advantage of all of these things, and that we are able to catalyze and promote the growth of these means. So that was part one of your question. What are the learnings and implementation? I think I've already answered this. Those were the core learnings from the overall COVID phase, and I'm happy to share with you that we've implemented them across the board in a very deep and sustainable way. Most of that is played out in the second wave, which was not forecast across the country, but we saw that we were able to sustain operations with no disruption to any services that we offered to the asset managers, to investors, distributors, etc. We were able to manage all the regulations that came in, and were able to implement all of that in time and focus very strongly on employee well-being. And those are the two key highlights that I would share with you. How is the company operating, and how are the employees working? It depends on which part of the business you're talking about. One part of the business is entirely software development and platform development, which is Sterling Software, about 500 to 600 people. That section was almost entirely, almost 100% working from home through most of the COVID phase. Easier to enable them, easier to get the same productivity from them, so we did that. From a back office perspective, where our core operations are run, we had almost 90% of our workforce working from home at the peak of the COVID phase in the second wave, in the months of April, May, and June. Now, of course, we've started bringing some of the staff back to offices. So it is not 90%, it is smaller than that in terms of work from home. And then in terms of the front offices, which is the branch offices, the 270 plus offices that we spoke about, which have been shut in two different time periods. One time period was April, May, and June of last year. And the second time period is largely May and June of this year. Most of the front offices stayed open with skeletal staff in the second wave. And we managed them with 30, 40, 50% employees, shutting them down at 3 o'clock as needed. So think of this whole thing in three different formats: software development, almost 100% working from home; back office at the peak, 90%, and then slowly tapering off in terms of work from home; and front offices working from home and being shut down completely in two time periods, but then being brought back to work, just like you would have seen in bank branches and several other consumer-facing situations. How many employees are vaccinated? Out of the total headcount of over 5,500 people, over 2,000 employees have been vaccinated. This number is about 2,300. We maintain, of course, close control on how many are vaccinated partially and how many fully. But the company is very focused on this count and continues to work with the government authorities, corporations, private hospitals, and groups of employees in order to enforce the discipline and deepen the penetration of vaccination across the workforce. How many employees were affected by COVID? This is directly being afflicted. We are not covering families here. 503 was the count of people who caught the COVID illness at any point in time during the past 16 months. There were 4 fatalities amongst the 503. The rest all came back home and are well. I will now move on to questions posed by Mr. Santosh Kumar. I think I've answered the parts on how many employees are work from home, how many employees are vaccinated and their family members. All of this has been covered. Steps taken by the company in the COVID situation, I have covered. How has it affected the income or growth of the company? I think over the COVID phase, there were 2 or 3 things which were experienced. One from a purely operational perspective, the other from investor sentiment perspective. Investor sentiment was slightly impaired in the time period April, May, June of 2020, which is 1Q of the quarter that we are speaking about. At that time, there was tapering off of the equity markets, fallen indices, etc. And therefore, overall AUM did get impacted, and so did the company's business to some extent. All of that has now come back over a period of time, and you've seen growth in the overall financial year, and you've seen all the financial metrics. From an overall growth perspective, therefore, we believe that all the asset classes, participation of retail investors and corporate investors in the mutual fund markets, eagerness of other entities to set up AMCs and come into the market, all of that is more or less intact. And therefore, from the current year onwards, and this is in line with all the other reports, industry reports that you've been reading, we believe that unless there is any other strong development, either because of COVID or something else during the year, things should now get back to normal. Steps taken by the company in various offices and branches, I think I mentioned this. April, May of last year, almost all the front offices were shut. We started opening them starting July. They all opened up. And then in the second wave, we again had partial shutdowns only in states which had declared a full lockdown and which was stopping us from opening, but that was selective as far as branch offices are concerned. How is the concept of waste paper dealt with? I'll continue with Mr. Santosh Kumar's questions. As you know, that the company has been a pioneer in creating various formats of servicing options for retail investors, for distributors, and for every part of the market. Our utilities that I mentioned earlier, both MyCAMS, GoCorp, H360, etc., seamlessly educate and urge all participants to start using digital means. Paper still represents, before the COVID phase, almost 25% of the overall volumes we deal with. We are responsible as record keepers to maintain this paper, images of the paper, and all the data for lifetime. So that continues for lifetime. In terms of handling paper that we do not need, there are standard policies and protocols on shredding of paper, on destroying of records, and in terms of disposing of the waste paper, in terms of either the shredded paper or the waste paper. So all those SOPs exist. We have contracts with specialized vendors who manage both storage and then the management of waste paper. And then these are as per the standards prevalent in the states in which we operate, and guidelines are issued by the Government of India from time to time. In terms of KYC details, and you mentioned a WBR report, I will just share this with you, and I understand the pain that you spoke about, that with the coming in of the special dispensation of brokerage not being allowed on valid cases of assets that the mutual funds hold where the investors' KYC is not done, I'm happy to share with you that various reports are available to you from us on CAMS Online, and various reports are available, the same reports are available to you in S360, which basically gives you a listing, and you can sort it by AUM on which of your investors is not KYC'd, and then you can go after them. I will see, I'm not promising here, if we can find someone some way to connect with you so that you can be told about these reports and then you can start using them. But I can tell you that all of this has been designed and made available over a period of time. So that's on Mr. Santosh Kumar's questions. I will carry on to Mr. Dharav's question. The first question was, what has the company done in the area of ESG? And I will invite Soma Sundaram to speak about this and give us views.
Yeah. Thanks, Anuj. I'll answer the question in two parts. What have we done as a service provider to the mutual fund industry, and as a corporate, what have we done about the ESG? As far as the industry is concerned, as you are aware, we have been a pioneer in digitalization and thereby reducing the opportunity for creating paper-based transactions. From around 70-80% of the transactions being paper, we are now at 20%. A very large part of it can be credited to the initiatives taken by CAMS. Some of the properties which Anuj mentioned during his presentation, My CAMS, GoCorp, 8360, all of them go towards reducing the paper and thereby improving the environmental conditions. That's one part of it. Even on the communication side, earlier what used to be predominantly paper-based account statements have moved into email statements. Again, the company played a very, very large role in this. Investors who had not opted for email, we contacted them, got them converted into email-based statements. We played a significant role in reducing the paper consumption there as well. That's on what we have done on the for the business, the mutual fund business. Within the corporation, there are several steps which have been taken for reducing the energy consumption. The database, the data center, where all the three data centers were upgraded very significantly, reducing the power consumption almost by very say 30% kind of levels. On the offices, all of them were made green. The lighting was changed to LED. The older air conditioners were taken up for replacement in the last 2 years. They were all changed with energy efficient air conditioner. That's from an environmental perspective. As you would have seen on the presentation on CSR, we have always been, even before CSR became mandatory, company has been spending quite a substantial sum on improving the social conditions in and around Chennai. We have been a significant contributor to some of the educational institutions and charitable institutions. And similarly on the governance, CAMS, even before listing, much before listing, even as a private limited company, have been following the governance standards which were applicable to listed companies. Right from 2007, we have been having audit committee. Much earlier than 3-4 years back itself, we had a NRC. As far as governance standards are concerned, even when it is not mandated, we have been following it and will continue to improve upon it. Yeah, I hand it over back to Anuj.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Somu. I will continue progressing to the next questions. There was a question from Mr. Dharav on future prospects with regard to the technology and IT of the company. I will divide this answer in 3 parts. On the selection of softwares, platforms, etc., on the overall infrastructure and cloud, and then on security, just to give you a full view. On the technology front, in terms of deploying the latest databases, compute technology, front ends, UI, UX, etc., very pleased to report to you that we have a strong team which continues to evaluate the best options and the latest options available for us to select platforms, softwares, and capabilities to build our overall stack and architecture on. And while we have largely been, let's say, an Oracle and .NET kind of a shop, we continue to evaluate these both in terms of freeware and in terms of licensed software to continue bringing in the best of breed for our business. In terms of infrastructure and selection of cloud, we are governed by norms set out by the regulator in terms of overall storage, compute, uptime, and BCP capabilities that need to be embedded overall in the business. So we made the investments like we spoke about in the 3 data centers, in having high availability for our databases and for our softwares, and in terms of limiting downtime across the stack of applications, which is measured in a very sophisticated manner and then reported both to our clients and across the marketplace, including to the regulator every so often. And then in the area of security and cybersecurity, which you've been reading, is becoming a very important area. We continue to bring in best-in-breed professionals, make sure that the training and awareness of the staff at the branches, in the back office, and consumer-facing staff is of the highest order, and continue to bring in tools and techniques to fortify the overall perimeter so that any potential either breach or phishing or any kind of data leakage or any instances that you continue to read about can be completely minimized and eliminated, that the level of monitoring and vigilance is the highest, and therefore our data and our IT assets are completely well protected. So that's on the IT part. What are the major issues faced by the company last year apart from the COVID slowdown? I would say there was no other major issue apart from normal day-to-day business issues that we continue to handle in terms of what the company faced last year. COVID was a large overhang, which presented itself in multiple dimensions, separately for investors, front offices, staff, and various other things, and that I think we've spoken about. Which are the products from competitors which pose a threat? I think we are in competing markets. So for the core mutual fund franchise, as you are aware, the market used to be split amongst several producers till about 3 years back or 2 years back between 3 commercial producers and 1 captive. And then it is now between 2 commercial producers. For everything else, there are competing players in the same marketplace, and then there could be potentially other products which could take the place of the company's offerings. So, for example, if you see insurance repository is a very popular way, and it's gaining popularity continuously in terms of storing your insurance assets and policy informations. But there are now formats like DigiLocker which can do part of that job, not the full job, but you can think of it as a distant competitor. In terms of posing a threat, a head-to-head threat for the core business, we do not believe that a head-to-head core threat for the core business right now exists for the products of the company. What is the financial landscape 10 years from now in terms of revenue diversification? So we certainly want diversification of revenue over multiple product lines. As you have seen as a shareholder, and you've seen the data, that that number is slightly over 10% right now. We continue to bring in offerings like you've seen of insurance repository, the payments platform, and then the futuristic businesses, which is both CAMS Pay, which is both CRA and account aggregator, in order to diversify these numbers. We will continue to be focused on expanding the 10% revenue contribution of other products, the non-MF products, to the overall revenue mix in the years to come. 10 years from now, I would not like to quote a number, but I would certainly like to see the contribution of non-MF products to be a lot higher than what it is today. We will move to what Mr. Siddharth Gupta had asked. His first question was about revenue concentration and our plans to mitigate. So as you know, revenue concentration is both about concentration of revenue from a single product line, and there could be concentration evidence within the product line too. I think I've spoken about our attempts to build more offerings in the B2B financial infrastructure-based businesses, That continues to be the plan of the company, and that is what we've been speaking about in the analyst meetings too. So overall, that's how we plan to mitigate revenue concentration at the offering level. Within the same sector, let us say within the mutual fund sector, this concentration gets reduced or can potentially get reduced as we continue to onboard more and more new emerging asset managers, and we continue to do that. So over a period of time, that could potentially help in mitigating the revenue concentration in a single sector coming from a set of clients. What are the margins in the new business? Would it be the same as CAMS mutual funds? The way I would answer this question is that we have consistently focused on building a franchise on, principled on the mutual fund business. So we would like to have model margins at that level. The other thing I would say is that we will voluntarily deselect low margin businesses, either from getting into them or deselecting them even after we've grown them to some extent. So yes, our overall aspiration is to deliver margins in the line of the MF business. And as you may have seen in this report or in earlier conversations you may have had with us, that in the other businesses, including in AIF and CAMS Pay, we have aspired to and have been delivering margins consistent with that level. On future prospects for buyback and split, so would you like to take this?
We do not have any plans at the moment, but having said that, we would definitely look at it at appropriate time.
Okay, good. Was there any shrinkage in equity MFs due to COVID? Like I had said, this was manifest in 1Q in April, May, June last year. The recovery began after that, and after November, the markets have been at a steady clip. The inflow character of the markets has also changed recently to become positive in the equity segment. In the other segments, including debt and liquid, it has continued to be positive over a period of time. I will move to questions asked by Ms. Elizabeth. What is the average age of our workforce? That is 30 years. Our overall group level attrition percentage is about 11%. That is across the various mixes of employees across the board. What are the revenue and margins for Franklin Templeton contract? We do not disclose contract by contract information by business. Where I would leave it is that it is our endeavor to bring every new contract aligned to the model margins that we book in the business. What is the percentage of business of CAMS Rep in terms of e-insurance and life insurance? E-insurance, as you know, is a small business right now. It's an emerging business, but only a small part of the market, under 5%, is under e-insurance. So in terms of CAMS Reps overall business, I would say about 20% would be emanating from overall e-insurance. What is the market share of competitors? This is available to you in various domains. Now there are, after the migration of Franklin Templeton, there are 2 commercial producers. So you can see that out of the market, we are 69% and our competitor is just over 30%, close to 31%. Are we planning for opening new centers across the country? We continue to evaluate service opportunities for investors across the country often. And this is done in 2 formats. We select cities which either have new industries opening up or where there is more intense banking activity or population growth due to any other means, and we identify them and set up centers. And sometimes we expand centers in large metros just to improve reach, where investor travel distances and therefore fatigue due to travel continues to increase. So we look at both of these in the COVID phase. Of course, there's not been any material expansion of the branches for obvious reasons. Physical service wasn't the flavor, but as physical service becomes the flavor, in the next 3 to 6 months, we will continue looking at expansion of branches. You asked about loan against mutual funds. This is a facility which is offered by banks and NBFCs working on their platforms and integrating with ours. The lien marking and unmarking is therefore a CAMS offering, but that's just a component of the overall offering. So therefore, CAMS does not offer any loan against mutual funds directly. We do not deploy our monies. All this is done by the banks and NBFCs who have tied up with us. The lien marking and unmarking is done by us. Right now, we do not do, while we do service gold ETFs, as you're aware, as part of the overall ETF offering of asset managers. We do not do anything in the area of cryptocurrency yet. But like we had said, we continue to look at the markets in terms of emerging opportunities, and if any of these appear as emerging opportunities, we certainly will engage with that. There was a question on Warburg's holding, including the current shareholding. Would you like to take this?
There's a question on Warburg's shareholding. It's around 31% now.
And then I'm now getting to the end of the questions that came to us. This is from Mr. Ravi Kumar. Two questions, and sorry, we have something from Vinod Agarwal. This is the second last investor set of questions. Where is the growth going to come from? I think there are two parts you can think of growth coming from. One, of course, is the core business, the mutual fund business, which is contingent upon the growth of the mutual fund industry, where assets have grown a CAGR of mid to high teens in the last 5 years. And as you continue to read about projections in the marketplace and expectations of growth led by high financial literacy, higher penetration of mutual funds across the country, that is one core area of growth that will continue to manifest itself. The second area of growth will come from new and emerging products, and I would say amongst the established alternate products, both CAMS Pay and the AIF PMS business will continue to drive growth and drive margins too. And then in the new businesses, it is both the account aggregator and the CRA opportunity where the growth will come from. Are we writing off goodwill? Sumo, would you like to take this question?
So the goodwill has arisen out of the acquisition money that we paid for one of our subsidiaries, Sterling Software. It's a goodwill on consolidation, tested for impairment as per the Indian accounting standards. And there is no need for amortization as per the standards today. Should there be a need, it would be done. At this point in time, there has been no need, and therefore no amortization has been done. I think there was one question from Mr. Vinod on what is our plan for cash and equivalents. We are carrying a fairly large cash balance and also investments in mutual fund. As you are aware, our stated dividend policy is to endeavor to pay a dividend of at least 65% of the consolidated PAT. That we would continue to do. Having said that, that still leaves us 35% of the PAT getting accumulated on the balance sheet. We are open for appropriate acquisition opportunities so long as it's in alignment with our core business principles, which is basically a platform-led services opportunity, mostly in the BFSI sector. Should there be an opportunity, of course, we would be open to M&A opportunity as well.
Good. So that brings me to what is the last question that I have with me from today's meeting. This is again from Mr. Vinod Agarwal on whether we will be an RTA for equity shares like a corporate registry. Right now, that is not a business that we do. And right now, there is no specific plan to enter that sector. We used to do equity RTA work long back as a company. Today, there is no plan to get into the equity RTA business. So with this, I have no other questions to answer. I will now hand over the proceedings back to the chairman, Mr. D.K. Mehrotra, for him to progress the meeting further from here.
Thank you, Anuj and Somu, for responding to the questions and queries of the stakeholders. I'm sure they would be satisfied with your replies. Now, let me also thank all of you for your active participation and for your faith in us and the constant support for CAMS. With this, I declare the meeting as closed except for the completion of the electronic voting, which shall remain open for another 15 minutes. Once again, I wish you all a good health, and please take care of yourself and your family and be happy. God bless all. Thank you very much.